I never imagined my own son would drag me into a courtroom, stripping away my dignity like an old coat discarded in the rain. There I sat, Harold Thompson, 68 years old, in that sterile hearing room, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees overhead. My hands trembled slightly, not from age, but from the rage boiling inside me, as I listened to Michael, my only child, paint me as a frail, forgetful relic. "Your Honor," he said, his voice steady and rehearsed. "My father is no longer fit to handle his affairs. He's isolated himself in that run-down cabin up in the woods, with no steady income, barely scraping by. He forgets appointments, loses track of bills, and frankly, he's a danger to himself." The words hit like punches, each one landing harder than the last. Michael's wife, Lisa, sat beside him, nodding solemnly, her perfectly manicured hands folded in her lap. She had always been the ambitious one, pushing Michael toward bigger houses, fancier cars, and now, apparently, toward claiming what little she thought I had left. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s with wire-rimmed glasses, peered down at me from the bench. "Mr. Thompson, do you have representation?" I did, but my so-called lawyer, a young man Michael had recommended, seemed more interested in doodling on his notepad than defending me. It was clear this was a setup. They wanted conservatorship over me, control over my meager estate, which they believed consisted of that old cabin in the Adirondacks and a pittance in savings. Little did they know. My grandson, Jake, 17 years old, sat in the back row, his fists clenched. He was the only one who knew fragments of the truth. The boy had spent summers with me, helping fix up the cabin, listening to my stories. His blue eyes met mine, filled with a mix of anger and helplessness. I gave him a subtle nod, trying to reassure him. This wasn't over yet. Michael's attorney, a slick man in a tailored suit, continued. "We have evidence, Your Honor. Medical reports suggesting early dementia, unpaid utility bills, and witness statements from neighbors who say Mr. Thompson wanders the woods alone, talking to himself. Lies, all of it. The medical reports were from a doctor Lisa knew, probably bought off. The bills. I paid them late on purpose sometimes, to avoid drawing attention. And the wandering. Those were my quiet walks where I checked on my hidden investments, phone in hand, coordinating with my team. I felt the room's eyes on me, pitying, judgmental. At 68, I was supposed to be fading away, not fighting back. But I'd built my life from nothing, and I wasn't about to let my son dismantle it. Your Honor, I finally spoke, my voice gravelly but firm. This is a farce. I'm perfectly capable. Michael interrupted, his face a mask of feigned concern. Dad, please. This is for your own good. You can't keep living like a hermit up there. What if something happens? The hypocrisy burned. Michael hadn't visited in years, not since his mother, my wife, Clara, passed away 5 years ago. Back then, he'd been too busy climbing the corporate ladder, leaving me to grieve alone. The hearing dragged on, each testimony a nail in what they thought was my coffin. Lisa took the stand next. Harold has always been stubborn, Your Honor. After Clara died, he withdrew completely. He refuses our help, won't even let us fix up the cabin. It's falling apart, and so is he. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, the picture of a caring daughter-in-law. But I knew the truth. She saw my land as prime real estate, a spot for luxury condos or a quick sale to fund their lavish lifestyle. Jake shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He knew the cabin wasn't run down. It was my sanctuary, simple on the outside but wired with high-speed internet for my real work. He mouthed, "Hang in there, Grandpa." I smiled faintly. The boy was my anchor. As the judge seemed ready to rule, I played my card. Your Honor, I request a brief recess. My financial advisor is en route with documentation that will clarify everything. Michael scoffed. Dad, what advisor? You've never mentioned one. Exactly. I'd kept it secret for a reason. The recess was granted, and 10 minutes later, the doors swung open. In walked Victoria Lang, my advisor of 30 years, a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her late 50s, carrying a sleek briefcase. Her heels clicked authoritatively on the tile floor. Your Honor, I'm Victoria Lang, CPA and financial manager for Mr. Thompson. I have records that directly contradict the claims here." Michael's face paled. Lisa whispered urgently to him. The judge leaned forward. "Proceed, Ms. Lang." Victoria opened her briefcase, pulling out folders thick with statements, deeds, and reports. Mr. Thompson is far from destitute. Over the past 4 decades, he's amassed a portfolio worth over $20 million. This includes tech startups he's invested in, real estate across 3 continents, and a venture capital fund that's yielded 15% annual returns. The room erupted in murmurs. Michael's jaw dropped. "That's impossible. Dad was a mechanic, fixed cars for a living." I stood then, addressing the court. "I was a mechanic, son. But I was smart with my money. While you were off at college, paid for by me, mind you, I started investing. Small at first, stocks in emerging tech like Apple in the 80s, then bigger. Silent partnerships in Silicon Valley firms, properties in Canada, Europe, and Asia." Victoria continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Harold's monthly income from dividends and rentals alone exceeds $100,000. The rundown cabin. It's on 500 acres of land he owns outright, valued at $5 million, with mineral rights that could double that. He's fluent in investment strategies, negotiates deals personally, and has never missed a beat." Jake grinned from the back, his faith in me vindicated. The judge silenced the room. "Mr. Thompson, why the secrecy?" I sighed, glancing at Michael. I wanted my son to build his own life, not rely on mine. Clara and I agreed. No handouts. We saw what inheritance did to families. Bred laziness, resentment. So I lived simply, taught him hard work. But look what happened when he thought I had nothing left. Michael stammered. "Dad, we were worried. The cabin, your isolation." "Bull," I snapped. "You were after the land. You and Lisa hounded me to sell it, move to a senior home. You even used Jake, pressuring him for updates on my health." Jake stood up. "It's true, Your Honor. Dad asked me questions about Grandpa, twisted my words into evidence of confusion. I told him Grandpa was sharp as ever, but he didn't listen." The judge's eyes narrowed at Michael. "This smells like fraud. Conservatorship denied. And I'll refer this to the DA for investigation." As we left the courtroom, victory felt hollow. Michael and Lisa trailed behind, defeated. Jake hugged me. "I knew you'd win, Grandpa." But the real story started long before that day. It began in the garage where I worked as a young man, oil-stained hands fixing engines while my mind raced with bigger ideas. Clara and I married young, had Michael when I was 25. We scraped by, but I read every finance book I could find. My first investment, $500 in a little company called Microsoft in 1986. It paid off big. Then came real estate, a duplex in Toronto, flipped for profit. Soon, I was buying undervalued properties in emerging markets, apartments in Berlin post-war, vineyards in Italy, tech parks in Bangalore. Clara knew some, but not all. "Harold, why hide it?" she'd ask. "Because money changes people," I'd say. "Let Michael earn his way." She agreed, and we raised him modestly. He became a successful executive, married Lisa, had Jake. But after Clara's cancer took her, Michael changed. Visits stopped. Calls were about helping me sell the cabin. Lisa was the catalyst. Ambitious, she pushed for more, bigger home, private schools for Jake. They racked up debt, credit cards, loans. I saw it coming but stayed silent. Then the pressure mounted. "Dad, you're alone up there. What if you fall? Let us handle things." Brochures for assisted living arrived. They limited Jake's visits, claiming I was too tiring for him. One night, Jake snuck over. "Grandpa, Mom, and Dad say you're losing it. They want to protect your stuff. But I know you're not." He was scared, loyal. I hugged him. "Trust me, kid. I've got a plan." Victoria had prepared for this. "If they try conservatorship, we unleash everything," she'd said. In court, The revelation shattered them. Michael's worry was exposed as greed. Lisa's tears dried up when Victoria listed assets. For $1 million in Canadian timberland, $3 million in Italian wine estates, $6 million in Indian tech ventures, plus US stocks and bonds. Your Honor, Victoria added. Harold recently brokered a deal in Singapore, personally. His mind is razor-sharp. Michael broke. Dad, how? Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted a son, not an air chaser, I said. You showed your colors when you thought I was broke. The aftermath was brutal. The DA charged them with attempted elder abuse. Michael lost his job amid the scandal. Lisa filed for divorce, blaming him. They sold their McMansion to pay fines. Jake moved in with me. The cabin. We upgraded it subtly. Solar panels, a home office for my deals. Jake thrived, applying to colleges with the trust I'd set up years ago. Months later, Michael called. Dad, can we talk? Supervised, per the order. We met at a neutral cafe, Jake present. Michael looked haggard. I was drowning in debt. Lisa pushed. But it was my fault. I knew you weren't incompetent. I faked reports. I'm sorry. It hurt, but I listened. Sorry doesn't fix betrayal, son. You used Jake like a spy. He nodded, tears falling. I lost everything. But mostly, I lost you and Jake. Jake spoke up. Dad, you taught me greed destroys. Grandpa taught me integrity builds. I revised my will, most to Jake's future, charities for elder protection. Michael got a small fund, if he completed therapy and community service. Forgiveness. Slow. We talk occasionally. His rebuilding, working a modest job. Lisa. Gone, chasing new schemes. Now, Jake and I hike the woods, discussing investments. Grandpa, teach me your secrets. I smile. Lesson 1. Wealth is a tool, not a crutch. And family. That's the real fortune. The shadows of legacy linger, but in the light of truth, we've found our way.